Dr. Richard Johnson is with me, lecturer in US politics at Queen Mary University, London. Dr. Johnson, good morning.
Good morning.
He did look relaxed, didn't he? And full of confidence with his lawyer by his side.
He did, but I think this was a pretty clear-cut case. I mean, Congress issued the subpoena. He didn't follow it. That's a crime. He's claiming that, he wasn't sure that he actually had to respond. His lawyer had suggested that he didn't have to respond and so on. But I think the reason that the Biden Justice Department decided to prosecute was because the facts of the case were so basic, and the fact the jury only deliberated for less than 3 hours suggested that they thought it was a pretty clear-cut case as well.
Yeah, and the panel that is sitting at the moment, how is that panel made up? They're looking at January the 6th, this insurrection, as some would say. How partisan is it?
Well, it's mostly composed of Democrats, although there are a couple of Republicans on it, most notably the vice chair of the panel, Liz Cheney, Republican congresswoman from Wyoming. But most Republicans have boycotted this. I mean, Congress has broad ability to investigate areas under its federal competence, and this, of course, would be one that would fall under it. I think what might happen, though, is that if the Democrats lose control of the House in November, in January, a Republican-controlled House would probably discontinue this committee if it's still going, and who knows, they might even try and set up their own kind of counter committee. So there is clearly a partisan element to it, although the people who set up this committee in Congress have tried to include Republicans as much
Sure.
as they can.
One of these is Adam Kinzinger, one of two Republicans on this, as you say, Democratic-led committee. He said yesterday, didn't he, that President Trump chose not to act when the Capitol riot was taking place, and Donald Trump was watching the TV.
I mean, the committee has done, I think, an excellent job in being extremely meticulous and setting out what the timeline was. And then, they've done dozens of interviews and have been really, really clear about what was going on. And there is, in the timeline, there's a clear gap between when the events unfold and when Trump first comments on them. And actually, when Trump first comments on them, he comments on it to criticize Mike Pence for not doing more to try to overturn the election. So, it's well over an hour by the time that Trump himself actually starts to say, hang on, this is wrong, you need to go away. And I think that's going to be used almost in the case against him, that silence was complicity, perhaps even a kind of form of encouragement of these acts.
And he didn't call. He's watching this on TV unfold, President Trump. And I mean, we're not surprised by anything that Donald Trump sort of does or is said to have done. But he didn't call law enforcement. He didn't call defense or security. He just sat there watching TV. I mean, it is absolutely bizarre, isn't it?
Well, I think this committee's done a pretty good job of setting out a case that Donald Trump believed that the election result should be overturned in his favor, that he got wind that there was going to be some kind of attempt to do that, and whether or not Trump was actually directing these individuals is less clear, but Trump, in a way, I think, was happy to sit on his hands to see if he would get lucky.
Even as the president's children, Ivanka and Don Jr., wanted him to call the rioters. That's come out as well, hasn't it?
That's right, and it's what's interesting is that it does seem that there were a number of people around Trump who didn't think what was going on was right, were concerned about it, but ultimately didn't have the willingness or ability, perhaps, to get the president to act more quickly. And I suppose at the end of the day, if Trump didn't want to act, Trump's not going to act, and that's part of the issue here.
Yeah. Is there a suggestion that he should be prosecuted for not acting, dereliction of duty? I don't know what the charge could be, but...
Well, this is part of what the committee is, I think, trying to work out is, can they build a case against him? Ultimately, if they do, they would have to refer it on to the Justice Department and the Biden administration. And the Attorney General, who's a cabinet member under Biden, I think would be very cautious about about that. This case with Bannon was clear-cut, and it was just obvious that he just hadn't shown up.
Yeah.
To build a case, say, of, if not treason, but something approaching that, it's going to require smoking gun evidence, and I think that's what they're trying to find. At this stage, they could do a case, it's going to be messy, and they don't want Trump to be brought to trial, then found not guilty, and to be vindicated. So that's what I think, that's what they're worried about.
God, I remember being in America 5 years at university, 81 to the end of 85. And, I just remember thinking at the time, having these sort of student-y debates, Dr. Johnson, about, where America stood in the world. And there was no doubt that, culturally and economically, they were just the powerhouse. And what a decline, in general terms, what a decline we see now. Don't you agree?
I think the United States is experiencing a kind of crisis of confidence in itself that's being brought on by these extremely polarized times. And the United States is becoming the gap between Americans who are on either side of the partisan divide is growing and growing, and they don't even recognize now the legitimacy of the other side. And I think that this is very concerning, because it's not just, normally when you lose elections, you think, well, okay, that's how it went, I'll try again next time. But if you think that the other side is so beyond the pale and you won't even accept the legitimacy of their victory, that can lead to some very dark remedies indeed.
And the next election in the United States, just briefly, do you expect Donald Trump to run? And do you think Joe Biden's going to hang about?
I believe both of them will run. And I think at this stage, the most likely outcome, we're still quite a long way away, would be a Trump-Biden rematch. Things can change. That's not bulletproof, but that's I think.
I can't believe you just. I can't believe you just said that. I completely have no reason to refute it at all. So the Democrats will obviously stay with the incumbent president and Donald Trump. What about Ron DeSantis in Florida? Younger, energetic, perhaps better ideas or more appealing ideas. Any chance of him breaking the Trump monopoly on the Republican nomination?
Yes, he could give Trump a run for his money, but still, a majority of Republicans want Trump to run for president. He has over 3/4 approval from Republican voters. It's Trump's to lose. He could, but he's.
Do you think Joe will even know who he's running against? Is he all there? Come on, these are important matters.
Yeah, I can't diagnose the president. I think sometimes, he has some verbal issues which are actually long-standing and go back to when he had a stammer as a younger man. But he is old. He's going to be the oldest president running for office, and that's going to cause some concern in the electorate.
It's very nice to speak with you. Thank you very much. Dr. Richard Johnson is a lecturer in US politics at Queen Mary University in London. 9 o'clock's the time. This is LBC. Andrew Castle with you.